Tempo's the guy who, came down and, started, hanging out with reality wrestling more than maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years, it seems like now. He's a guy who had a whole lot of talent, but I just thought, this kid had so much more potential. I thought being here at Reality Wrestling, I think we could tap into it. He's grown, so much, since coming to Reality Wrestling from a guy who could just go out and outright, perform in the ring to now a guy who legitimately can go out and entertain the fans. And I think, before it's over with, he's going to be totally well-rounded and ready to go anywhere in the world and take his talents wherever you want to go.
We're gonna hit up my hometown first, and we're gonna get to see where a little bit more depth on Terrale Tempo. Get to see where the house I grew up in. Get to talk to my parents. Get to see my family. Get to see the support I get from that hometown because it's a great supportive town. We're going back for the second time. This show is called Home Sweet Home. So a lot of people used to make fun of you for, in front of me for wanting to be a wrestler, but now I can honestly say most of those people and all those people, have hit me up and they went to the show and they're just like, oh man, it's really cool to see you doing what you always wanted to do. So it's support from people I didn't think I would get that, I never thought I had. But yeah, everybody out the woodworks, man. And it's gonna be, I'm excited because you get to see where it all started for me. It was never a second thought. Like, every time I thought of what I wanted to be, wrestler was always there. Kids around you want to be policemen, firemen, doctors, astronauts, but me, it was always a wrestler, man. I can even remember being little when the name tag, hey, my name is, what do you want to be, and I always had wrestler on there. So when I was 14 is when I decided to look up schools and start saving money towards that. And so I knew I was gonna do it. And then I remember telling my best friend, all I need is a good physique. And he was like, what? What's that? And I was like, I just learned the word physique, so I was all happy about it. I heard Jim Ross say it about Triple H, and I was like, physique. He's like, what is that? And I told him, he was like, all right, bro. I didn't like football because everybody was picking football over wrestling. When I told my brothers I wasn't gonna do football, they was like, Goldberg was in football, The Rock was in football, all these great wrestlers played football before they became wrestlers. And I was like, that makes sense. When I started at 14, I started working out constantly. Like when I was in sports, once everything stopped and you could just go home, I was still working out. People, why are you always working out? Like, what are you doing, man? Like, just go home. Like, no, because I always had a goal in my head. So at that point, I would say 14 is when I really decided to do it. I used to do the 100 and the 200 though. The only reason I did track was to become a better athlete. One thing I hate is running, man. I don't really like running. I like it a little bit more now because I don't got to do it, but I hated it so much, man. Levelland. Like, think about level and then think about a land, so you put them together, Levelland. Man, it's a small town, small West Texas town. Good little wholesome town, good town to raise a family in, everything you can want, low crime rate. That's where I fell in love with pro wrestling, so I watched a lot of wrestling, played with my wrestlers a lot. I ended up doing sports there. I did football from 7th grade through senior year, and then I did track and powerlifting from 9th grade year till senior year. But I did all this just to be better, become a better athlete because I knew where I was going to transition later in life. If I didn't want to be a wrestler, I don't know if I would have played football. I definitely wouldn't have ran track. And powerlifting I probably would have done, but who knows, it's hard to say. We're going to the high school that I went to because it was a big part of my life, but it's also when I really knew I wanted to be a pro wrestler. Because at 14 is when I started looking at schools and I knew everything that I was going to do. So it was making that transition from being in high school to being an adult to move into the next stage in life. And it shows where I started really taking my life in control and really taking those steps into weightlifting and becoming a better athlete for wrestling. So this is Levelland High School, home of the Levelland Lobos and Loboettes. This right here, the room we're standing in, is in the field house.
And this is important to me because this is where I grew up. This is where I spent all my time, my extra time, because this is where football was, powerlifting, track, everything you can think of. This is what taught me to become an athlete and to get me ready for the world of professional wrestling.
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Ooh.
No, he was a good kid. He was a good student, so.
You've been so nice.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yes, he was. He was a good student. Couldn't believe it when I saw what he was doing, and because you were a little scrawny thing when you were here.
See, nobody believes it. People don't believe it now, but yeah, I was always in there though. That's why I was showing them where I was used to be. So.
My mom's important because she's really one of the few people that I can say have always been just supportive no matter what I did and what I wanted to do. Little things, she knew how much I love wrestling. She just always would just try to make me happy using wrestling, or she knew that's what it got me there, and was always a supporter and never tried to hold me back. And I believe she was one of the few people that really believed that I would get to where I'm at today.
He used to take karate, but he told me he had to stop because it was interrupting his Monday Night Raw, because he had to go to class on Monday nights. So, got him out of that.
I think the funniest thing is she always knew. Like, I think she always knew I was gonna try this. She was always supported it, and she always wanted it to happen, and she could just tell. She just, I don't know, your parents know you the best, and they know how much you love something. And my mom has always been supportive. My dad, at first, I would want to say he didn't think I was gonna do it. Like, he didn't think I was gonna move out. He didn't think I was, not in a negative sense, saying I couldn't. He just didn't think I was going to. But my dad is a very serious person, and you know me, I'm not really that serious at all. So we're opposite. So me actually doing stuff I say I'm gonna do, it's probably a little shocking to him because I'm always jokeful and playing around. He's way more serious than me. Yeah, he never said you can't do that, because even if I ask him, he'll just be like, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do. And that's what my mom always said, that you can do whatever you want to do. If you want to, you can do it, So when I moved out, they were, sad but excited, and they've been supporting and ever since, man.
He just knew what he wanted to do ever since he was a little child, and he pursued it. He went after it, that's his dream, so I'm glad it came true for him, and he made it happen.
Meekness, Monique. Come here. I can hear you on the camera. What is you doing with your... What is this?
I went to sleep.
I like it.
She's 13, and she told me the other day that she's good at tennis. And I was like, wait, hold up. I knew you were in cheerleading, but when did you decide to just be this good tennis player and not tell nobody, you know what I mean? So I don't get to see her a lot. So when I do see her, I do make sure I set a time for us, and I go and see what's going on in her life. It really sucks for me because every time I see her, she's just growing faster and faster, and she made the cheerleading team, so her birthday's in December. I don't know if I'm gonna get to see her. So I'm gonna try to catch up on some lost time there. I think it's very important to set an example to my sister and my nephew, to show them that if you believe in something bad enough, if you work hard for stuff, because believing is half of it, you gotta put the work into it to make it come true or come to fruition. But if you want to do anything you want to do, you can go do it. I would never want them to look at something and think, oh, I can't do that because I live in this town or I grew up here. It's not a lot of opportunity in Levelland to do big things. It's just not. But I just think me doing what I do shows them that I wanted to do something as a little kid, and then I went and did it. It doesn't matter how crazy or how out of reach that it seemed, but I achieved it. I looked up how to do it, and I went and I did it. So I think that's just the steps in life that you should teach young people, is if you want something bad enough, you gotta be willing to put the work in, but you can do it. It's not impossible.
It's an extra one.
I'm gonna leave all the wrinkles in mine tonight so I can work them out at the wrestling match.
There you go.
My other sister, Joy, who she's actually sang at a couple of my shows. She's a great singer. She's gonna be there. She's actually flying in from Dallas. She's been a big supporter since day one too. That's the first place I lived at when I left Levelland. I went to go move in with her. And she's been a big wrestling fan for her whole life, pretty much. What got me involved in it, because I always got to watch it or be around her.
What time you gotta be at the thing?
I'm about to go right now. I just came to drop off these shirts.
That's a large?
That's a large. That's what that is. Mama.
How much these gonna cost your mama?
No, I ain't charging them.
You know it ain't gonna cost his daddy.
Y'all didn't get it, did y'all?
It was supposed to be a tag team match with Max Heights, and then it got changed. A couple other people who didn't show up, it just flipped the card around, so the promoter thought it would be better to do different things. So tonight now it's a singles match for the championship, the Texas Championship. And I am the Texas champion. It sucks sometimes. Just because that was a match that I really wanted to do. But, I mean, card is always subject to change. So that's what happens sometimes in wrestling, man. Goddamn. It's just when you get, I mean, it's part of the business, but it's just when you get here and you're expecting to do something so much and you're ready for it, you're hyped up about it, and then it gets changed. But, yeah, I mean, what can you do? You still got a show to go on. There's people out there. You still got to go out there and perform.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Man, Tempo to me is a real good friend. He's a good dude, man. I got nothing but respect for him. He has taught me a lot. He has taken me under his wing. He has helped me out on the road, helped me out, get out to reality wrestling, and introduced me to a lot of people and stuff. So I have nothing but appreciation to him. And whatever he does in the future, best of luck to him.
was always energetic. Did you feel that vibe out there? Did you feel the energy, the difference? That's all you can ask for. If they give you that, man, it's like I said, it's kind of hard to go out there and do anything where you don't think you did great, because they're going to let you have it, especially somewhere like this, because they don't get this all the time. So this is a very special moment for them to take in. Like I said, it's not a big city. We don't live. Everybody's coming in from Houston or Dallas or San Antonio, so these shows don't get as much love when it comes to professional wrestling. So that's one of my goals, is just to come down here and always perform here, to let people know that just because you leave don't mean you can't come back, and then when you come back, you can't bring something back great that you did.
It don't matter how old you were, you had a dream to become a professional wrestler. And it don't matter how old I always had a dream to have a professional gaming career. You know, and then you having your professional wrestling career showed me I can have my professional gaming career no matter where I'm from. Levelland or not, showed me I can get it wherever I'm from, just as long as I'm passionate and really stick to it.
He set out to do what he said he wanted to do, and he did it on his own. And I mean, he had our support, but it was just like nobody from our family did anything like that. So usually, you know, everybody did typical sports, you know, football, basketball, baseball, all that stuff like that. With the whole wrestling thing, none of us knew how it would work. You know, nobody knew the ins or outs of it. But he did everything himself. Like, he looked up online, like the wrestling schools and everything like that, and then he put his own plan in motion. He used to work at United here, and he worked there for a while, and then he transferred to Allen, right? And stayed with my sister Joy and worked up there at that one, all in pursuit of trying to get closer and closer to like San Antonio and stuff like that to do the whole wrestling school. And then the rest is history. So he's been doing it all on his own, basically. Nobody really knew what he was doing. I mean, nobody knew his plan, but he always had a plan. And so he completed his plan to the fullest, and now he's doing what he wants to do.
This is probably one of my last time in a wrestling sense that I'll be back there for a while, because I decided for myself to move. I'm moving to North California. It's just time to make a move. I feel like I've been in Texas. I've overstayed my welcome. You know, I planted roots here, and I've always had roots here, but in the wrestling sense, I planted roots, and I think it's just time to pick up, you know, and plant them somewhere else. And not necessarily, I don't even think it's really about planting them somewhere else. I think it's just about keeping it moving. I think now I don't know if I want to be in a place for too much longer. There's a couple of different things that I want to try in life and get to experience. Wrestling I love it. I love wrestling, but I also figured out that wrestling was making me happy. You're right, which is great, but I feel like you should be happy in wrestling. Not wrestling makes you happy. Does that make sense? I kind of got into this vortex over here where I was just wrestling, and it was keeping me happy when I should just be happy for myself. And I feel like I'm getting a little bit older in life. So I feel like I didn't want to live my whole 20s in Texas. Like, do something different. You know, for me, I had to go out and do something different and make a drastic change, and I had to go back to a place to where I think everybody that's in a form of entertainment where you perform, you have to set yourself back to the beginning again, or put yourself in a new position where you gotta succeed again. You know what I mean? Where you're set to fail, because that's what makes a person better. When they have a goal to meet, if you don't have no more goals, then, you know, what are you? When I say we don't have no more goals and you're still young in the business and you're young in your wrestling career, and there's all these other promotions popping up and things that are happening in this wrestling world, you can't stay here. You gotta go out and make different waves to get out there. So that's why I decided to leave Texas, but I get to go home, and that's actually a good statement because my family doesn't know this yet, and I want to tell my mom and dad to their face. And I'm pretty sure I'll have their support, but it's still important to me to tell them that while I'm there, and not over a phone, not a text. I want to be there to tell them that.
But I am moving to California next year.
California.
North California.
Where at in California?
It's Yuba City, I believe.
Why? What made you decide to do that?
Just different. I mean, it's just different, just to get out of Texas a little bit, just to see new places.
Spread your name around.
And still, I can be wrestling out there and things like that.
So that means there'd be less I see you.
No, I don't think so. I think the flight, I can get a flight and be here just the same as the drive.
When you plan on leaving?
January 1st, I will be in California already. So probably, we have a show in Abilene December 28th. And that'll be the show here, my last show. And then
Going way to California.
Well, you know how I feel about it. You know, whatever decision y'all make, I mean, that's the decision you make. You know, you're a grown man, so I don't have no problem with it. I just wish you the best of luck. I don't want you to go so far away, but that's what y'all want to do. I mean, it's part of life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you be careful.
I'm trying to do something new and find more depth and see where my skill set and my craft is, not only in Texas. Because California is just that's the first place, but I also see that I'll be more traveled. I definitely want to go out of the country and wrestle, and moving to California is the first step in that, because you could say, well, you're in Texas, why don't you just go out of the country from Texas? And I was, because I'm in Texas. I still want a new home and a new freshness, a new avenue to try to get established somewhere else. So I see in the future, man, I see me being happy and challenged.